Hello, I'm Elizabeth Rose, and in my doctoral leadership studies and other trainings, I have discovered that there are many ways to lead, but all leaders influence. One way to think about leadership is that it is mobilizing others to make progress on their most daunting challenges, whether that's in the clinic, operating room, community, or within family. However, often leaders just keep the status quo and allow people to stay where they are instead of pushing them to reach their potential and helping the whole group to grow. In this video, I'll discuss how to identify areas where you have influence and control so that you can maximize your efforts to lead change and help your team grow. After watching this video, you will be able to identify and act within your circles of control and influence and prioritize your activities and actions based on your circles of control, influence, and concern. So what level of influence do you have? You may have formal leadership roles, or you may informally lead in the areas where you're at, whether that's at work, home, or in the community. And I'm reminded of a quote by the Dalai Lama when he said, "If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito." I believe we've all had the experience of getting a mosquito bite from these tiny insects, but they may have a big impact on the next few minutes when we're scratching them, or even later in the day or the next day when they still are itching us. And they can have an impact on our mood and our behavior. So no matter how big or small you think you have an influence on others. And an excellent way to become more self-aware of our influence is to reflect on where we focus our time and energy. Which image illustrates your energy and focus? The image on the left shows energy, in the center circle, being radiated out in these small, tiny areas to many, there's probably a dozen areas where that energy is going and that focus is going. The circle on the right, though, has that ball of energy, and it is hyper-focused on one thing, and you can see that all that energy is compounded into that one focus and getting and making some big difference. So do you focus on things that you cannot influence or control, where you're expanding your energy out and out, or on those things that you can truly influence and control, and so your energy is hyper-focused up? Each of us has many concerns, but people gain more influence on all their concerns by first focusing on influencing and changing only the things they can directly control. So let's dive into exactly what I mean by this. So there's an idea that everyone has a circle of concern and a circle of control and a circle of influence. Now, looking at the circle of concern, you might be concerned that it's going to be a rainy day out. You might be worried that it is going to rain on the laundry you have drying outside, or maybe your crops or animals need the rain and it's coming or it's not coming, or maybe there's too much rain and it's going to flood. So you can be very concerned about all of these things, but you don't have any control over the weather. What you do have control over is how you react. Will you be happy or upset? Will you bring an umbrella or take some other precautions to prevent against the rain or the lack thereof? So we need to think about acting within that circle of control, focusing our energy there rather than in an area where we're concerned. And so adding into this, when we focus in our area of control and we control it, it actually is it radiates up into a circle of influence, which then impacts areas that we are concerned. And so taking this home a bit, you might be, as a parent, worried about your child and who they'll be when they grow up. But at this moment in time, if you have a toddler or even someone in grade school, you can't be worried. You have no control over the grown-up child. That is your circle of concern. What you do have control over right now, your circle of control, is who you are as a parent. How are you controlling your actions? How are you responding to your child's, to what they do? How are you being a role model to your child? And that will influence your young child. So you see how your circle of control, what you are controlling, your thoughts and your feelings and your actions, impacts this other circle of influence where you're influencing the child. And then that will have an impact on the grown child, that circle of concern. Now let's take it from the family into the workplace. And as an anesthesiologist, as a clinician, you are likely concerned about the community's health. But that's a concern. You cannot change the health of your entire community. Where you do have control over, though, is your work and how you act in your work, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, what you say to others. And that will have an impact on the patient's health. And then that will, in turn, all those patients compounded together, impacts the community's health. So when you act within your circle of control, your work, you are influencing your circle of influence, your patient's health, and then you're influencing the community's health, more broadly speaking. So now, reflecting on your own circles, what are your concerns? Take a moment now even to pause this video, draw a circle, write out those concerns you have. What are you concerned about? And I imagine some of those concerns might be related to, the previous example, your children or where you work. Maybe you're researching, maybe you're teaching your students, maybe you're concerned about the military, your city, your home, many other things that you can be concerned about. But what do you have control over? So now move your concerns, everything that you're concerned about, draw another circle and label this your circle of control. You have control over your work and what you do. You have control over if you're researching or working in a lab. You have control of your home. And now draw another circle, and this is your circle of influence. What can you influence through those? Well, with the previous example, you can influence your children. Through your work, you can influence your students or the other people on your team. And then the other things fall into your circle of concern. So I challenge you over the next few days, the next few weeks, to think about these circles and to really think about, as you're acting and reacting, what can you control? As you are prioritizing your lists of things to do, where are you acting in that place of control? And where are you wasting energy in a circle of concern? Because when we think about our circle of concern, and we let it impact us, and we let it weigh us down, and we get so upset with things in that circle of concern, it just really impacts and decreases our circle of influence, because all of our energy and our cares and our concerns are being wasted in an area that we cannot control. And this is what's referred to as a reactive focus. You have your negative energy and it's reducing your circle of influence. On the other hand, if you focus in that circle of influence and that circle of control, your influence will radiate out and it will decrease your circle of concern. This is known as having a proactive focus. Your positive energy enlarges your circle of influence because you are focused on what you can control. And you are thinking creatively about how to control your actions and influence the people around you. And so to apply and practice this, I challenge you to think about your activities and responsibilities. Take an audit. How is your energy spent acting in your circle of control? Are you spending a lot of energy in that circle of control? Or are you focused in your circle of concern and worrying about things that only concern you that you don't have control over? So, over the next few weeks, think about these circles and make concerted efforts to change where you are acting. Because remember, if there is no one following you, then you are just taking a walk. You want to make sure to be acting in your circle of control so that you can influence those around you, so that they will be following you. Now, hopefully after watching this video, you are able to identify and act within your circles of influence and control, and you're able to prioritize your activities and actions based on those circles of control, influence, and concern. Thank you.